Boxing King Media in association with Boxer Dominic Ingle. It's Monday morning and the world is going crazy over low blows and from the heavyweight action of the weekend. So I thought, who best to speak to but Dominic Ingle. Dom, before we get to the biggest talking point, let's initially talk about, we're obviously here talking about Usyk Dubois. Just tell me your initial thoughts on the fight and the way it ran up until the key moments. How did you think Dubois' performance was? Did you see any changes under Don Charles and the tactics, etc.?
To be honest, I thought Dubois did all right, but he did all right because he played it very, very safe. He didn't take any risks or commit himself, and he got further than I expected. Because Usyk is that type of fighter, he kind of sets up situations to knock the fighter out. He kind of plays the long game, Usyk. The knockout's not always on his mind. It's a kind of wear them down, see what they've got, work out the moves. And when he sees the fighter repeating moves, then he takes advantage. So Dubois did well up to that point. As for the low blow, well, there's always going to be controversy over foul shots, and let's have a wind back to when Bradley Skeet boxed Hamza Shiraz, and it was a foul shot, and we were all screaming. We didn't get anywhere with that, and it's horses for courses, isn't it? It's like Dubois. They think they could have won the fight purely on that low blow. Well, let's just look at this situation. A low blow ultimately is in boxing, so. To put it coarsely, if you get it in the balls, it's a devastating shot. That's what it is. There's three areas for a low blow. There's the balls, or the testicles, what we're going to call it, and then there's the hips. If you get hit on the hip, either hip, it's a hard, or in the groin, it's a hard shot to recover from. When I look at the video of that shot, to me, it looks like Dubois caught him with a very good shot above the hip bone and below the rib. So for me, it was a legitimate shot. That shot would have been a legitimate shot in the UK, but an illegitimate shot in Poland, where Usyk's the favourite. So you could say it's like a bit of a hometown call on that shot. Now, people think that Dubois could have won the fight purely on that shot, but you can guarantee when Usyk went down, if the referee had said no, it's not a low blow, and started to count him, let's ask this question: would Usyk have got up? And the answer to that question is Usyk would have got up, and he would have got through that round. He's got enough footwork to move, and if he'd have got up and found himself in a position where he wasn't quite recovered, you know what he'd have done? He'd have gone down again on one knee.
What about the notion that Dubois is known to be a good finisher and there was 2.5 minutes left in that round?
All right, what about the fact that Usyk's a very clever fighter and he knows that when you put it on Dubois enough, he'll quit? Do you understand? So let's look at that. He might be a good finisher against substandard opponents, but he's not going to be a good finisher against somebody like Usyk, is he? Not especially when he's been playing it safe for a couple of rounds as well. So
going back to that knockdown, so we kind of talked about the first 5 rounds, and then in that key moment, 30 seconds into round 5, the uppercut to the pit of the stomach, as it looks on. We watched some videos just before we started the interview. So do you think Usyk's reaction was like quite instant? Because I've seen some opinions online saying if it was a body shot, the reactions are normally slow. He got hit low, that's why he kind of instantly went down.
Not necessarily, because body shots happen different ways. Sometimes you get hit with a body shot and it's only just slightly afterwards when you feel it, and then there's times when you get caught with it and you immediately go down. You can't really judge it on that unless you actually know what it's like to get hit by a body shot. It's a different reaction every time. The factor is, when you get hit with a good body shot, you almost find it impossible to get up. That is a fact. Whereas people can get hit with a headshot unless it's a knockout blow, and they will get back up. So you will see more people getting up from headshot knockdowns than you will from body shot ones.
Do you think Usyk deliberately stayed down for the full 5 minutes? Because there's another opinion that his corner instructed him to stay down as long as he can to fully recover. Is that just him being clever?
You should always take the 5 minute break. You should always take it. You should, you know, I've been in a corner sometimes and I put my watch on and said I'm having 5 minutes. Why would you not? Because you're still not going to 100% recover from a proper body shot. So that's another thing where you have to look into it, that when you get hit, when you've had a bad body shot, if that was a legitimate body shot, when you get hit on it again, you tend to find it's very hard to recover. So, you know, where he got caught, it's always going to be debatable. Me looking at that shot, I thought it was a legitimate shot. I honestly thought it was a legitimate shot from where it was. To me, it looked like it was to Usyk's left side of his navel, in an area where it's going to be very effective. Like I said, the reason we have a low blow rule is so you don't get it in the nuts and you don't get it on the hips. Anywhere else is kind of legitimate, and a good referee always puts the mark at the beginning of the competition. He'll say, "This is your shorts are high. Look at Tyson Fury, has them really high up," and so this is the line, and then it's down to the referee's discretion. But like I said just then, if the referee said no, it's not a low blow, and started counting, who thinks that Usyk wouldn't have got up? I think he would have got up no matter what, because he's the unified champion and he's got a lot to lose, and he's not going to sit down there protesting, you know, the referee's decision and then appeal it after the fight. He's going to get up and he's going to fight. This is a fellow who, you know, apparently, you know, went into the war against Russia on Ukraine's side. So I don't think, you know, if Usyk wasn't given the chance to have that, I think he would have got up and carried on, and he'd have survived that round, and he'd have come out the next round and put it on Dubois and finished him.
We're going to come back to that with some post-fight opinions on that low blow. So the fight goes on. I think when I spoke to you last week, you predicted that Usyk would stop Dubois after 6 rounds. So I think we got to round 9. There was a knockdown before that, which obviously we just saw before the interview. Just talk to me about them 2 knockdowns where Daniel obviously took the initial knee, and then the second time I think he got up on 9 and a bit, and the referee waved it off.
Well, you look at those shots, and he got caught with a few shots. But, you know, he's a big fella, and Usyk's not a massive puncher. He's a cumulative puncher where the shots have a cumulative effect. And the first knockdown, it was almost like a bit of a shock. Oh, I've been hit hard. And sometimes when fighters get hit with a hard shot and it, you know, makes the head ring or whatever it does, with some people it just kind of scares them. And it looked like to me that was probably the first hard shot that had an effect on Dubois in the whole fight, and he started to then question himself, thinking, "Phew, you know, that was hard. What's coming next?" And he went down and took a knee to recover. I think from then it was kind of, he was set in his mind that Usyk had got the power to knock him out. And sometimes, you know what, trainers or people around fighters will say things like, "Oh, he's only a cruiserweight. He won't be punching as hard as a heavyweight. You'll be a bigger puncher." I can always remember years ago around Naz's family and his brother saying when he was going to box Barrera, "Oh, you're bigger than him. You're a featherweight. He's a super bantamweight. You'll be bigger than him. You'll be stronger than him." And I just thought, what a silly kind of thing to say, because, you know, Barrera, you know, he was only a super bantamweight because he decided to fight at that weight, an extra couple of pounds to get up to featherweight, you know, 4 pounds is nothing. So going on the opinions of that, like, well, he's not a fully fledged heavyweight, therefore he won't be punching as hard, and you'll be able to, you know, to absorb it. He's not like a Joyce. Bearing in mind the difference between Joyce and Usyk, you know, he won't be punching as hard as Joyce was, so he should be all right. And you know what? Some people actually believe that. But let's not forget, Usyk, you know, boxed Joyce in the amateurs and beat him, I don't know, once, twice, 3 times, whatever he did. He always beat him when he boxed him. So, and if you've gone in, you know, if somebody's told you that and convince you of the fact that you should be able to walk through his punches or you won't trouble you, and then you get caught with something and you think, wow, it has troubled me, then you start to lose your confidence. And the final knockdown, you know, was kind of like a straight shot. And he waited, and you see fighters doing it, you know, you've got to be up by the count of 8, realistically. When you're on the floor, you can't leave it to 9, 9.5 and just rising on it. That signifies to me that, oh, I shouldn't have been stopped. You know what I mean? If you can get up at 9.5, you can get up at 8. Look at Tyson Fury when he boxed Deontay Wilder. He was flat on his back asleep, not moving. And then he climbed up and beat the count. So, you know, for me, I think I said it in previous interviews, and especially when he boxed Joyce, when it wasn't going his own way and he saw the tide turning, it's almost like Dubois got this level in his head thinking, that's me done. That's like my 80% there. Whereas some fighters, you know, they'll get to 99% of damage and think, then they'll start thinking about it, and then they'll still keep fighting through. You know, look at Chris Eubank against Cole Thompson all those years where his face was closed, he was battered, he was bruised, and he kept coming out and kept coming out. You're going to get them fighters. But you're always going to get them fighters who've got like a lower, I'm not going to say a lower pain threshold, but a lower point where they think they're going to go past, where they're going to really go into the trenches and commit and fight their way out of it. And as soon as the tide starts turning, they think, well, you know, that's me done.
Well, he got a lot of comments online, you know, a lot of people saying he quit in that moment. And Don Charles, post-fight, he did an interview and basically said, if anyone thinks he quit, come and say it to my face, I'll punch you in the face and see if you quit. He's obviously quite passionate and loyal to his fighters.
Maybe he is, but the point is he did quit because he wasn't, if he's rising at 9.5, he's not sustained enough damage, has he? He'd be down past 10. So he's actually coherent enough to make a decision. Am I going to fight on or not? And that trick at rising at, when the referee gets to 9 and rising at 9.5, and do you understand? It's like, you see it in boxing loads of times. You see it rising, you're like, oh, you know, I shouldn't have been stopped over on my feet. No, you weren't. You've got to be up realistically. So there's no room for error. You've got to be up before 8. You've got to be 8 at the latest, 8.5. That's what you've got to be up at. And you've got to be wiping your hands. You've got to be looking at the referee and telling him that you're all right. That's what you've got to be doing.
Don Charles also said in a post-fight interview, he basically compared Usyk to a drugs cheat, and he questioned his faith in God because he's obviously quite a religious man, and basically said, you know, what God is he believing in, and compared his actions to similar to a drugs cheat, with the fact that he cheated in that moment of pretending that it was a low blow.
You know, it's wrong to say that, isn't it? Because then what's God got to do with boxing? It's got nothing. Religion's got nothing to do with anything in boxing. If you're talking about morals, well, you know, that's another thing, but it's not to do with God, is it? So that's, you know, there's no need for that, and there's nothing like a drugs cheat at all, is it?
And also, I did ask Usyk about that particular same question, and he basically responded that Don Charles has a brain fart.
Well, Don's knocking on a little bit, and he's been around the block, and he's been involved with a lot of fighters, and, you know, you've got to be very careful when you're making comments as a trainer. It's not Don doing, you know, Don's only had Dubois for one fight. And at the end of the day, it's not his responsibility, and it's not even his position to try and defend Dubois' actions at the end of the day. Don's there just to train him, get him into the best shape he can, give him the game plan and do what he's got to do. He doesn't have to justify Dubois' performance at all. He's not his long-time trainer, and you know, there's always the conversations you have with fighters, and you have to do it when you start the career with them and through fights. And you say, these are the possibilities of what can happen. If you get knocked down in a round, look over to me. I'm going to tell you how long's left in the round. I'm going to tell you what to do. So follow instructions off of me, you know, and that's what you do. And I'm not saying that I didn't actually see any of that kind of contact between them two. And I've had fighters and mid-level fighters and journeyman fighters, when they get put down, who've automatically rolled the other way away from me so they can't receive any instruction, believe it or not. Because I know when people are jumping on the floor and when there's a bit more fight left in them. So you give the fighters the instruction for certain scenarios. If you get a low blow, yeah, take a knee, take 5 minutes, get your full recovery. If you don't feel recovered and you've got to carry on for 5 minutes, run round the ring until the round's finished, get back to the round and recover, and we assess it from there. There's lots of scenarios you have to talk the fighter through. You don't do it in the moment. So there's a procedure, and as a good trainer, that's what you tell your fighter.
You definitely can't question Don's loyalty. He's shown a lot of that to Daniel. I have to credit that. And just a very short answer, Don, mean short, who got it wrong with regards to the low blow? Just in very short, you kind of summed it up there.
Who got it wrong? Well, we've got to debate whether it's wrong or right. The thing is, let's take the stance, you know, when we have these decisions, and it's not going to be a short answer, this, by the way, just because what goes around comes around in boxing. Is the unified champion of the world. If that was Daniel Dubois, who was the unified champion of the world in the UK, having that fight and the same thing happened to him, it would have been ruled a low blow. That's as simple as it is. Because what do they say? You've got, you know, he's a unified champion. You've got to take the belts from. You've got to strip the belts from. That's what they always say about these close decisions with champions. When there's a big fight going on, and it looks like the champion might have got beat, you know, the opposition always, the champions and the, you know, the people who are supporting the champion, you've got to rip the belts off him. You're going into that fight 3 rounds down. Like, that's the accepted view from most people. So if that's the accepted view, he's going to get away with a borderline body shot Usyk because he's the champion. And Dubois didn't capitalise on it after that. He didn't capitalise on it. If he hit him with a legitimate blow and it took some wind out of Usyk, the ultimate thing I would have said to the fighter is, you go and capitalise on that now. You go out and jump on him and start putting it on him and start capitalise on where you've hit him and get him again. That's what you do, because that's the prime time when you're going to finish somebody off.
Sound. But in short, the summary is you feel that it was a low blow. However, Usyk would have got up if there was a count and he would have come back and still won the fight.
What I said is, I think it was a legitimate blow. I think it was a legitimate blow.
So that's what I meant. It's a legitimate shot. However, you feel if there was a count, Usyk would have got back up and won the fight.
100%, because he's a fighter.
Brilliant. And just moving on, obviously we've got to talk about Adam Hamed's debut. We spoke about that extensively last week. But before we do that, I just want to shout out, obviously I had a recent health scare, and we was talking about, you know, the work you've done with changing people's lives, etc. And I think one of the key things people have got to look at is prevention before cure. That's probably something I should have done. And I know you've started doing a lot of work with the females as well. So any men out there who've got partners that are struggling to lose weight or just get back on the healthy diet, you know, you're also working with ladies as well. And something I'm looking to team up with you on as well, just to try and help people, you know, sort their lives out, prevent disease, heart disease especially. So just a quick few words on that. I think,
you know, what's this? Is this our 3rd interview since your recovery, since your fatality? And I think, you know, I remember 12, 16 weeks before that, we were having a conversation about health and lifestyle, because obviously we were talking about what I'm doing. And you were telling me how your lifestyle is, that you had hereditary heart disease in the family, you ought to do something about it. And I kept saying to you, don't be putting work before health. Don't be putting work before health. Yeah, I'm going to get on it. I'll get in touch with you. I'll get a diet. I'll do this. And, you know, 16 weeks later, lo and behold, you know, you had a fatal heart attack and managed to survive it. And that's it, you know. People out there too busy living their lives, doing the work, putting themselves second. And before you know it, you know, something bad happens and you had a near-death experience. That's what you've had. You've come back from the dead. So, you know, never leave it too late. It's a dangerous age after 40 for men.
It is, and definitely if anyone wants to change that, and it's just the women as well, because a lot of women, I don't think, because people may assume that we're just appealing to the men here. So hit up Dominic Ingle on Instagram and get your life sorted.